Talking about unplayable at times, Koscielny still talks about the goal that Hazard scored against him and Arsenal that day, where he ran half of the pitch with the ball at his feet and you could not touch him, you could not come near him. It's almost like he made the ball disappear at times. And I just think on those days, and you could always argue was there enough of those days. I mean, his stats for Chelsea are pretty good for a winger in terms of chances created. Nobody, in his time in the Premier League, nobody created more chances than him. He still had goals, plenty of assists as well. There was all the dribbling and everything. But that goal, I think, sums him up well because he was at the time a team player, so he would make this team click and work. But I think often he was like, give me the ball and I'm gonna do what I do best, which is take on players, defenders, go either score, assist, do that on my own if you want. And that goal, the goal against West Ham, the goal against Liverpool, for example, especially, where he does all that work on the right hand side on his own, and then it's an amazing goal. This was Hazard's best.
I think there's an element of that when you talk about him doing work on his own. I think a lot of that comes down to where you fit into the team and how the manager sees you fitting into the team and what the manager's idea is. I was thinking back, and I may be getting this wrong because I'm going strictly from memory, but I think he arrived the year after Chelsea won the Champions League in 2012, right?
Yeah.
So he had Roberto Di Matteo in, who didn't last very long.
No.
And then it was Rafa Benitez for those 6 months, and it was very much like, okay, results-driven, results-oriented, right?
Yeah.
Then you went from Rafa Benitez to Mourinho, who, of course, is all about beautiful football and patterns of play.
As we know.
And then you went to Sarri, who is about patterns of play. But if you remember that season and when they made the run to Europa League, halfway through the year, Sarri was like, all right, screw this. You just want results. I'm going to leave at the end of the year anyway. Yeah. So Chelsea, at the latter end of the year, the Loftus-Cheek Chelsea was all about defending,
productivity,
and productivity, right? Yeah. I do wonder, had he had different managers, maybe at a younger age. I'm thinking back to when he was at Lille before that. He had Rudy Garcia, who maybe not as stereotyped as the other ones, probably still maybe putting results over patterns of play. I remember that team. I think he was playing behind Moussa Sow and Gervinho.
Gervinho on the other wing.
Gervinho was on the wing. He had Rio Mavuba, the man who will forever go down in history for the fact that on his birth certificate, it literally says he was born at sea.
Yeah,
I love that.
Which he was.
Yeah. I love that. In those contexts, the idea of, okay, well, we're going to keep it tight and our attacking play is going to counterattack and give it to Eden, wait for him to do something, for him to get fouled, a set piece, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a criticism. You have to
but that was the plan. You're right. Yeah. If he'd been coached by Pep or Klopp, I don't know if it would have worked, but he might have become an even better player.
And, you contrast that, and I go back to the Salah thing, but Salah early in his career, when he was at Fiorentina, when he was at Roma, certainly, that was kind of the plan. It wasn't like, hey Mo, you counterattack here, you do that, you go, you press there. No, it was tight, win the ball, 2 passes, let's release him into space. When the other team parks the bus, it's okay, get the ball to Salah and see if he can take people on one-on-one and make something happen, right? And then he underwent this transformation. And maybe it's also the fact that Salah was older when he started working with Klopp, right?
Maybe, yeah.
And so maybe he had more that maturity to understand what this system could do for him, and he's on this fantastic longevity. Hazard, I kind of feel he had so much so soon, both in terms of success and in terms of money and what was expected to him. You were never going to change that, were you?
No. So you mean what? Going into Real Madrid then after that?
Well, even before Real Madrid, I think even when Sarri took over, or even Mourinho. When Mourinho, there's some of the classes with Mourinho were over the fact doing work off the ball, and I could imagine Hazard saying, "Jose, don't break my balls here, okay?"
Yeah, which is true. But then the 2014-15 season, when he's voted PFA Player of the Year and FWF Player of the Year, this is maybe his best season. That's the Mourinho season when
I'm not saying he wasn't productive, but I'm saying he was doing something completely different. It was individual.
But that's. So I agree with you, but that's why I think Hazard was a genius, because even with those very conservative managers, very result-driven manager, he was still amazing. So if he played with Pep in that Messi Barca team, like a Neymar, let's say, and would have won all those things, he would have played great, but would have said, okay, yeah, but that fitted so well his kind of dribbling attribute, philosophy. Well, he had fun, it was great. But for him to put those performances in the best league in the world with those managers who, let's be honest here, are just not really Hazard compatible, because this is not his football. Mourinho is nowhere near his football. Sarri, a bit more, but like you said, the Sarri that we saw in Napoli didn't really work. Conte is certainly not. Benitez either. They're not Hazard.
So when you say it's not his football, you say that because he wants to play attacking football, right?
Yeah.
And he wants more of the ball and so on. But the reality is the managers who play, not all of them, but the managers who we mentioned, Pep, Klopp, and so on, who play that brand of attacking football, it's not the attacking football of committing everybody forward and passing the ball around a million times. It's attacking football, which is based around pressing. It's based around work. It's based around discipline. It's still attacking football, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Leroy Sané, I think, is a good example of him at Manchester City, where, he certainly had his moments and he's shining now again at Bayern or whatever. But there was a transition because Pep doesn't just say, oh, look, Jeremy Doku, you can dribble everybody.
No, that's true.
Let's just get you the ball and do that. And we'll have a million people around you, right?
That is true.
So but you see always the individual versus the collective. I think that dynamic would have still been there.
Yeah.